Well, hello everyone. Here to show the Art Alive smile coloring activity right here. Is basically that what I went ahead and drew, of course, is like a say with free-handed. I talk about right here is a character by is like by Sonic right here, and with this coloring activity is basically talking about if most of us are familiar with like would say the game Art Alive on the Sega Genesis console. It is to where that you would have that capability to where you can actually draw say a custom say any type of clip art it is, and basically that the basic controls. It's like if anybody is familiar with that game, say by Sega Genesis, it is of talking about is that you say I think of Archon or something some title like that, but basically that you got right here is a smiley face, but right here that I went ahead and colored in right here is a Sonic, and then of course that there's no tracing, and I can remember whenever I was a kid it is that a lot of times that like I may have mentioned before, a lot of my drawings were done using like what you call you say a piece of line paper was just start out with like what you call like say black and white so far as sketch say design like talk about say with the shapes and I remember whenever I was a kid that I wanted a game Art Alive back whenever I was very young it was, and talk about it, it's like you say whenever, and then my parents said that they would get it for me, and then apparently that I don't know if it was that during that time that if anybody knows about back in like 1991 that it was hard to be able to purchase some of those games, either because either they were either too hard to find, or if it was the fact about that they were too expensive, and I'm sure that it would probably have been about maybe about $25 maybe $30 it was if most of us are familiar with like what you call like any other type of game ordering company, and such as I think Funkos or something like that. That was the name of the company that you buy order Sega Genesis games from, but there were several kinds of them that I can maybe mention, but such as what you call Super Hang On or any other type of Genesis game. But basically, talk about with Smile though of the basic controls, of course, about knowing about how to work the Sega Genesis of you have right here is the controller right here, and then you got right here is A, B, and C right here, and of course these buttons right here, and then you have the up, down, left, right arrows. It is. Up, down, left, right arrows. And if anybody maybe think about it, if you were to play the game, it is of talk about it's like that if most of us is like remember about that it's like a do 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 do, and then that you would be playing the game, and a lot of times that I can remember spend a couple of hours on there. It's like figuring out the basic controls about how to draw something. It is if most of us know what I'm talking about, that whenever you first start drawing it is that you would normally see like what you call like a pencil symbol, kind of like this right here, to where it would show like what says a pencil, and then you would be able to draw like what you call like a type of design. It is such as if you call it to say for straight line it is, or if you want to go ahead and say push the left and then of course the down it is, and then draw like what you call like a the doodle shape it is. With the doodle shape that you would draw like what you say is a triangle, and I can maybe use like what you call like a calculator as an example right here. I'll talk about say with trace pad it is the basic controls that you have. You say right here is with the trace, and anybody maybe think about what type of artistic talent do you think that you would be able to get just by like me say a calculator of talk about say with the left and right arrows it is, and basically that I guess maybe just by the pushing of the buttons it is just get familiar with the controls. And with anybody who maybe think about that if you were to play the game is to get kind of familiar with like with the controls, and I can say right here that with the controls that you have right here, A, which means it's like is for the controls control say the sound, I guess to say the sound music, the sound of music it is for any type of action it is, if it's action, It's like, so for if you want to do it, draw some doodle points or anything like that, like you do 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 do. But other than that, right here, then B right here is the control. Is the controls for if for the ABC, if I can remember right, that it's your controls for the ABC it is. And then to change the level of speed it is, and then with the C, I think is controls the speed. I guess if I may have these reversed too. If I can remember, that B would normally, if you would do like what you calls like the ABC. If most of us are familiar with the program Art Alive, you'll be able to do like what you calls like the ABC. ABC manner it is, like that if you want to go ahead and write, say, letters of the alphabet it is. But if anybody is familiar with like this type of menu right here, where you have like the choices of at least 10 different colors it is, that you have paint bucket it is. You have paint bucket, and you have the colors right here. Say on the left, it will be like what you call like the color choices it is, so like spray paint, say bricks it is. And on the other hand, that you also have this other option. It's like the eraser, but right here, and then say the doodle. I guess it's say the pencil, and then right here, you would have a paint bucket. See, paint bucket would be at about right here. It is paint bucket, and then you also have I think a spray can. Spray can would be at about right here, and then right over here would be like what you call like the other say types of gadgets I talking about right here is like with the shapes it is. If you want to draw some shapes, and then you also have these stunts, other stunts, like symbols right here for the stunts and stuff like that. But other than that, and then of course you say with the screensaver, if you like in the part where it talks about it's like if you want to add like what you call like an artistic type of method, to where if you want to go ahead and put like what you say is a falcon, or any type of a bird related, or if it was a dog or cat or something like that, you'll roam around on your screen after you do your artwork it is. But basically though, that I keep thinking about that maybe it's just to give you an idea, for what you want to, if you decide to take a pause from your artwork it would be like something that would, kind of show it's like the type of action it is. And then there's also the coloring book, of course. It's like that if you want to go ahead and do like what you call, anybody maybe think about that, maybe if you think that maybe it would be easy to draw some mountains, if you wanted to go ahead and talk about maybe if it was the Rocky Mountains or anything like that, draw like what you call like a sketch of the mountains it is. With the mountains, if you want to go ahead and maybe add some details right here for the plain lands it is. But basically the controls are normally what you call like the up, down, left, right angles it is. And a lot of times, though, with anybody would maybe think about that if you're going to be what you call like trying to draw something really artistic it is, a lot of times, like with what I used to do on like say on Microsoft Paint, if most of us are familiar with that program right there of talking about, is if you were to work in the controls of knowing about how to be able to draw something like that artistically. But they say that you would normally have like what you call like the Toe Jam and Earl, and of course Sonic the Hedgehog and other characters on the program that then you'd be able to add which calls basic stunts of if you want to add like a mustache or something like that on there, or something like that. But if I can remember, whenever I rented this game, it was at that video store. It was that I can remember that one of the parts, of course, is like whenever they had the dino, I think the dinosaur. I think that for the dinosaur, and I think they also had a Halloween. It's like if most of us remember the coloring book, part from the game Art Alive, it was that you have it to where with the coloring book part is that a lot of times that they said that would normally be like say on a new section right here, and It's like talking about if you click new and then you're given like choices of different coloring book parts, and then from there, and then choose for what you want to color it is. But anyway, if I could go ahead and like I say add like what says the Sonic right here, and if anybody maybe think about if you want to go ahead and draw like what you call it, the flower doodly or something like that, anything that you may want to add to like what says the artwork it is, and I can tell anybody here that I guess this may not be a game for everyone, but on your hand to maybe get some ideas for maybe what you would want to draw on the program, such as if you want to go ahead and draw like maybe try to draw a Sonic, and anybody maybe think about that that the only way that you would more likely be able to do that, maybe if you copy and paste it, maybe from the Macintosh or something like that program it is, and then paste it onto like I say on the program, and of course do editing from there. But then of course I went ahead and drew this, of course, directly say on freehand it is, and anybody maybe think about how did you do that, and like like was explaining whenever I was a kid, I talk about pictures say in your mind, if I talk about is to draw. If you want to look at a picture while you were drawing, or if you want to go ahead and draw that custom shape it is, I talk about right here, it's like you say the pencil right here, and if you were to drag the pencil about right here, and like what you call it, like anybody may think to try to do anything artistic, maybe using just like the up, down, left, right arrows it is, and basically this right here would be what it would look like right here. And if you want to go ahead and add like what you say is a type of shape, if you want to go ahead and draw it that certain character it is, with this type of shape right here, that anybody maybe think about that what is that exactly supposed to be. And basically though, if you were to actually get on the calculator and do like we say the tracing right here, I'm talking about if like say tracing, but other than graphs, but if you want to go ahead and use like the controls right here, the up down left right arrows it is, and basically that's moving, or say the marking right there, and from how it's measured, which anybody may think about really a calculator. I'm like, yeah, a calculator may not have anything to do with the fact about trying to draw something really artistic, of course, say especially on the Art Alive program it is, but just to get the feels, of course, of the controls of the up, down, left, right, and anybody think about that with the up, down, left, right, that more likely that you may not be able to get maybe any type of artistic skill if you don't get familiar with the controls it is, because I can tell anybody here that a lot of Etch a Sketch pads, and of course I have an Etch a Sketch pad, and if you're not familiar with like what you call the controls it is, and talking about it's like from how they work it is, and basically talk about right here of say with an Etch a Sketch pad of talk about between a phone call or anything like that of knowing about say the basic controls of say so far as Art Alive.